The Iowa Hawkeyes have an absolutely dominant roster next year, but how many of them can realistically become national champions? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans, and welcome to another Big Ten Tuesday topic. This week talking all about the potential champs for the Iowa Hawkeyes next season. And I know this is such an exciting topic and one that is realistic. Now, look, if we're looking at things, yeah, there could be 10 Iowa Hawkeye national champions. If you're a crazy Iowa Hawkeye fan, of course, that's what you wish for. But if you're talking realistically, looking at guys who have placed high at nationals and performed well in the past, who have wrestled really well against some of the top ranked guys right now, have wins and losses against them, and just how they've done against other competition in the field. I think if we look at all of those, we can really look at who these contenders are. And I've separated these guys into three different fields. First off, we have the outside contenders, then we have the big time competitors, and third, we have the sure things. And the first guy in the outside contenders category is Caleb Young. Caleb Young, the number 10 ranked guy at 157 pounds going into preseason, has been an All-American in the past, fifth place in the past, and he's wrestled some of the best competition that is returning next year. And I think that's the biggest thing that separates him from some of the other guys in the field and why I consider him an outside contender. He's wrestled against Hidley and Carr. Now, he does have lost to him, or to those guys, so that's kind of important to note. He does have a win over De La Vecchia, but one of the most important things I want to note here is that he has 2 wins over the number 1 ranked guy in Ryan Deacon of Northwestern. I think that's one of the most important things. Now, he does have a loss to him in the past, but it just shows that he's able to battle against him. Both of those victories were in sudden victory, and they were close matches. There's nothing to say about that back in 2019. So just a season ago, Young was able to compete with the top-ranked guy. Now, I think Deacon has actually stepped up since then, but it just shows that, you know, a lot of these competitions go back and forth over the years, and when you're used to a guy's style, you can really get into it with him. And that's why I think Young's one of the first outside contenders. But the other outside contender I have here is Anthony Cassidy. Cassidy, national qualifier last year, was on the road to place, become an All-American. I think he would have last year. But I think the thing here is 285 heavyweight is just such a tiered, it's such a tiered weight last year, just because there was a clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I don't think you necessarily had that in every single other weight, but heavyweight is a weight where you did have that, considering the fact that Cassidy had losses to Gable Stevenson, 2 losses, just by a decision, but 2 losses nonetheless. He lost by two Mason pairs by fall. I don't think he'll necessarily get pinned again if he wrestles him again, but it's just a guy that, he's going to have to beat those tough guys, but he does have a strong win over Matt Stencil, which he got at Midlands. He has 2 wins over Trent Hilger. He has wins over a lot of the rest of the heavyweight field, and that's why I think that Cassidy is an outside contender for a national title, but he will have to beat one of those top guys in Stevenson or Paris in order to really get over that radar and become a national champion. And then we move on to the category of big-time competitors. So these are the guys who are really competing for a national title. Not quite sure things, but I think they stand a real chance. The first guy you see here is Austin DeSanto. Austin DeSanto has placed in the past as an All-American, round of 12 in the past he's made, as well as placing 5th. Now, he is the 133-pound wrestler right now, ranked number 4 at the weight. Again, those ranks can bump up and down depending on where things are going into the season, but right now that's where he's ranked. He's wrestled some of the toughest competition. It's one of the toughest weights, really by far, as 133 pounds, but he's wrestled Dayton Fix in the past, lost to him 2-0, a tight match. Dayton Fix wrestles a lot of tight matches, but DeSanto shows that he's right there with him. He's lost to Stefan Micic in the past with 2 losses to him, but he does have the 1 win over him. Now, we, of course, know that one of those losses was the infamous Kimura match, but he does have a win over him in the past. Now, he does have a win and a loss to Roman Bravo Young, most recently a loss to him, and he hasn't wrestled Philippi, but he has a win over Sammy Alvarez. That's some of his toughest competition. So I think he's able to, really compete with those guys. And if he gets some of those wins early on in the season, I think he'll be setting himself really up well for the national tournament. And then we get on to a guy at 141 pounds and one of the next toughest ranked guys for the Iowa Hawkeyes, number 3, and Jaden Ironmen. Now, Jaden Ironmen is a 3-time All-American, transferring from Missouri to Iowa, and he is just, oh my gosh, he's going to be such a threat for a title next year. Now, it's going to be some tough competition. First of all, you have Nick Lee of Penn State, who Ironman has actually majored in the past in 2018. Now, in my opinion, Nick Lee has stepped it up tremendously. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that Ironman's just dropped off or anything, but I think Nick Lee stepped up tremendously since then. But nonetheless, he does have a win over him. We know that Sebastian Rivera is bumping up to 141 pounds, so that's going to be some competition. And then Yanni Diakomahalis, who it's going to be tough to beat him. He has 3 losses to him, but Jaden Ironmen is the only guy to beat Yanni in his entire college career. So just based on that fact alone, I think that Ironman is a guy to really watch out for at 141 pounds next year. And then we get into another really tough guy in Alex Marinelli at 165. He's a guy who's been denied this title in the past, just hasn't quite been able to pull anything off at nationals, placing 6th and 7th in the past, but just not able to make that national title run. It was expecting to this year. Unfortunately, you know, that tournament got cut short, but we did get to see him wrestle Mekhi Lewis in the past, who is the top returning guy at 165 pounds. He had a loss to him in the NCAA quarterfinals in a tight match. Mekhi got the better of him, but I think that Alex Marinelli is able to come back and, you know, potentially beat him. I think that's not going to be an easy match for him at all, just by the way they're matched up, but I think that just showing that they have wrestled in the past really, really well. We also have Shane Griffith up at the top at 165 pounds. Evan Wick, who Marinelli has beat handily the past few times they've wrestled. You have Massa, who Marinelli's 2-2 against, and then Whitlake, who he beat 3-2. So listen, there's some tough competition here at 165. One of the other toughest weights, but I think Alex Marinelli, coming in as number 2 ranked guy, is able to, you know, potentially make his title run. I hope he can have a run at an NCAA title this year. And the other big time competitor is Michael Kemmerer. Now, the reason I don't necessarily have him as a sure thing, like another one of these guys, is just because I think that there is some competition where we haven't seen him wrestle yet. Yeah, we saw him wrestle Mark Hall and had an impressive match against him in the duel last year. Even at Big Ten's had a solid match against him. But we haven't seen him wrestle Miles Amin. Mikey Labriola, he's beat by decision. Caleb Romero, he's beat by decision. He hasn't wrestled Valencia. And there's a couple other guys that he just hasn't quite wrestled yet. Now, personally, I think that he is able to, just by the match, seeing him wrestle against Mark Hall, if he's able to just takedown, just like he did in that match, I think that he has a very, very, very strong shot at a national title. And he's coming into the season ranked number 1. He's had strong national tournaments in the past, placing 3rd and 4th in his career. And I think that Kemmerer is just close to a sure thing, but not quite there yet. The guy who is a sure thing, though, is Spencer Lee. In my opinion, he is the sure thing. He was this year. He is going to be, he was last year, excuse me. He's going to be this year a 2-time national champion, was on his way to becoming a 4-time national champion. He will have some competition. Look, he's going to have some competition against Patrick Glory, against Vito Arujau, but I just don't think the competition is quite there. You see some guys already bumping up and down just to get, or not down, but bumping up to get out of Spencer Lee's way in order to, you know, have a better shot at a national title. That's why you see 133 is so packed, because a lot of guys are kind of getting away from Spencer Lee. I think he is a sure thing. Now, as far as how many champs Iowa could have, yeah, they could have up to 7 of these champs if all of these guys win. But realistically, I think they're going to have 3 champs, potentially 4 to 5 finalists. I think that's a realistic number, 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 finalists, 3 champs. I think that's really going to have a standout year for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, if you're looking for another video on this wrestling, I might recommend that you check out this top video. And if you're looking for more Big Ten related videos, check out the bottom playlist. That'll take you right there.